It was a Tuesday evening. Nothing remarkable about it. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop reviewing quarterly projections for work, the kind of routine task that requires attention but not deep focus. Sarah was cooking dinner, stir-fry from the smell of it, garlic and ginger, the sizzle of vegetables hitting hot oil. The radio played something jazzy in the background, barely audible over the kitchen sounds. She had her back to me, moving between the cutting board and the stove with practiced efficiency. We'd been married 7 years, long enough that evenings like this had a rhythm to them, a comfortable predictability. She cooked. I worked on whatever needed finishing. We'd eat together, watch something on TV, go to bed, the ordinary architecture of a shared life. "I need to tell you something," she said, not turning around. I glanced up from my screen. Her tone was casual, conversational, the same tone she'd used to mention she'd run into an old friend at the grocery store or that we were low on coffee. "Okay," I said. She stirred the vegetables, adjusted the heat, then turned to face me, spatula still in hand. Her expression was calm, maybe a little apologetic, the look you'd give someone when admitting to a minor inconvenience you'd caused them. "I forged your signature on a loan," she said. "I needed the money." The words came out clean, simple, declarative, like she was informing me she'd used my credit card for gas or borrowed my car without asking. I looked at her. She looked back, waiting for my reaction. Expecting what? Anger, confusion, interrogation? I felt none of those things. Not yet. What I felt was a kind of suspended processing, like my brain had received information that didn't fit into any existing category and needed a moment to create a new one. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Okay? Yes. That's it?" "I need to finish this," I said, gesturing at my laptop. "We can talk about it after dinner." She hesitated, spatula still raised, clearly expecting more. A confrontation, questions, some emotional response that would match the magnitude of what she'd just admitted. But I'd learned a long time ago that initial reactions rarely serve you well. Better to gather information first. Understand the full scope of a situation before responding. React from a position of knowledge rather than surprise. "Oh," she said. "Okay." She turned back to the stove. I heard her exhale, relief, maybe, or confusion at how easily I'd taken it. I minimized my work spreadsheet and opened my email, found the thread from our bank, loan applications, confirmations, account statements. I'd been copied on everything because we'd set up our accounts that way years ago, full transparency, full access, both names on all correspondence. I scrolled through the most recent messages, opened the loan approval from 3 weeks ago, a personal loan, $45,000, approved quickly, signed electronically. I zoomed in on the signature field, my name, but not my signature. Close enough to pass automated verification, probably, but I know my own signature. The specific way I loop the first letter, the angle of the final stroke, this wasn't mine. I sat back in my chair and looked at Sarah's back. She was plating the food now, dividing the stir-fry between 2 bowls, moving with that same casual efficiency. Like everything was normal, like she hadn't just confessed to a federal crime while cooking dinner. I opened a new email. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. To understand why this moment felt so surreal, you need to understand how we'd structured our financial life. Sarah and I had combined everything when we got married, not because either of us was particularly traditional, but because it made practical sense. We were building a life together, shared expenses, shared goals, shared future. Keeping separate finances seemed like planning for failure. We had joint checking accounts, joint savings, both our names on the mortgage, credit cards in both names, investment accounts we'd opened together, everything visible to both of us. Full transparency. The division of labor was simple. I handled long-term planning. She handled day-to-day spending. I'm a financial analyst. It's what I do professionally, and it's how my brain works naturally. I think in terms of compound interest, risk mitigation, 5-year projections. I set up our retirement accounts, rebalanced our portfolio quarterly, monitored our credit scores, planned our tax strategy. I found it satisfying. The puzzle of optimizing resources over time. Sarah handled the immediate stuff. Groceries, utilities, household purchases, the everyday expenses that keep life running. She was good at it. Never overspent. Never missed a payment. Kept track of subscriptions, remembered when things were due, managed the practical details I'd probably forget while focusing on the bigger picture. It worked. For 7 years, it worked perfectly. The system was built on trust. Not blind trust. We both had access to everything, could see every transaction, every account balance, every dollar moving in or out. But functional trust. The assumption that we were operating with the same values, the same goals, the same basic understanding of what was acceptable. I never imagined she'd cross a legal line. Not because I thought she was incapable of making mistakes, but because she'd never needed to. If she needed money, she could take it. If she wanted to make a major purchase, she could make it. If she thought we should adjust our financial strategy, we could discuss it. She never asked because she never had to ask. The money was already hers as much as mine. That's what made the confession so jarring. It wasn't about access. She already had that. It was about something else entirely. We ate dinner in relative silence. Sarah kept glancing at me, trying to read my mood. I ate methodically, keeping my expression neutral. The stir-fry was good. She'd gotten the seasoning right. After we'd both finished, I pushed my bowl aside and looked at her. "Tell me about the loan," I said. She set down her fork. "What do you want to know?" "Start with why." She sighed. "I needed money quickly, for an investment opportunity, something that couldn't wait." "What kind of investment?" "A friend's business. She was looking for partners. There was a deadline to get in at the ground floor. I knew you'd want to do all your research, run all your numbers, analyze everything to death, and by the time we got through all that, the opportunity would be gone." I nodded slowly. "So you forged my signature instead of asking?" "I didn't forge it," she said, defensive now. "I just signed for you. We're married. We share everything anyway. It's not like I was stealing from you." "But you didn't tell me." "Because I knew you'd say no. Or you'd say, let's think about it. Or you'd want to see business plans and financial projections and meet with her accountant. And there wasn't time for all that." "How much?" I asked. "$45,000. "When?" 3 weeks ago." "And the investment?" "It's happening. She's opening the location next month. I'm going to be a 20% partner." She said it with pride, like she'd accomplished something, made a smart move, seized an opportunity. I leaned back in my chair. "What bank?" "Our bank, the one we always use." "And they didn't question the signature?" "It was all electronic. I just typed your name in the signature field." "Did they verify identity?" "They sent a confirmation code to your phone. I had it. The code came through, and I entered it." I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger yet, something colder. "You had my phone?" "You were in the shower. It buzzed. I saw it was from the bank. I figured it was important." "So you opened my phone." "We know each other's passwords. We always have." She was right about that. We did. Another feature of the transparency we'd built. No locked phones, no hidden screens. Nothing to hide because there was nothing that needed hiding. Except now there was. "And you entered the verification code?" "Yes." "Completing the loan application in my name without my knowledge or consent." She shifted uncomfortably. "When you say it like that, it sounds worse than it was." "How would you say it?" "I'd say I made a financial decision for our family without consulting you because I knew the opportunity was time sensitive and I trusted my judgment." I let that sit between us for a moment. "Did you read the terms of the loan?" I asked. "Generally." "Interest rate?" 7.5%. "Repayment schedule?" 5 years. "Monthly payment?" She hesitated. "Around $900. I did the quick math. She'd locked us into almost $11,000 a year in payments, more than $50,000 total with interest, for an investment in a friend's business that may or may not succeed, without telling me by forging my signature. "What's the business?" I asked. "A boutique fitness studio, specialized classes. She's got a great location, an established following from her online presence. It's going to be huge." I'd heard versions of this before. The ground floor opportunity, the can't-miss venture, the friend with a dream and a business plan that was just one investor away from success. "Did you review her financial projections?" She showed me some numbers. "Did you verify them?" I trust her. "Did you look at the market saturation in that area? Competition analysis? Her actual follower engagement rates versus vanity metrics?" Sarah's jaw tightened. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You'd turn it into this whole interrogation. You'd find reasons to say no. You'd analyze it until all the excitement was gone, and then we'd miss out." "Or," I said quietly, "I'd identify risk factors that you didn't consider, like the fact that boutique fitness studios have a 70% failure rate in the first year, or that her Instagram following doesn't necessarily translate to paying customers, or that we'd be on the hook for $900 a month regardless of whether her business succeeds. You don't know it's going to fail. You don't know it's going to succeed. but now we're both legally obligated to pay for it. She stood up, grabbing her bowl from the table. I knew you'd react like this. I made a decision. It's done. Can we just move forward? Just a few more questions, I said. She stopped, bowl in hand, looking at me warily. The loan paperwork. It lists me as the primary borrower? It lists both of us. But my signature is the one you forged. I signed for you, yes. So legally, the bank thinks I applied for this loan, that I requested it, that I agreed to the terms. We're married. It's the same thing. It's not, actually, but okay. She carried her bowl to the sink. I heard the water running, the clatter of dishes. I opened my laptop again. I didn't yell, didn't lecture, didn't tell her she'd committed fraud or broken my trust or crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I just asked questions. Calm, specific, procedural questions. The kind you'd ask in a business meeting when reviewing a contract. What date was the loan approved? What was the lender's reference number? What email address did they use for correspondence? What documents did she sign? Where were they stored? She answered all of it, freely, almost eagerly, like she was relieved to finally be able to talk about it. Like my lack of anger meant I was accepting what she'd done. She gave me account numbers, login credentials, the name of the loan officer who'd processed the application, every detail I asked for. She thought I was gathering information so we could manage the situation together, figure out how to handle the payments, maybe even get excited about her friend's business venture. She didn't realize I was building a case. When I'd collected everything I needed, I closed my laptop. Thank you for being honest with me, I said. She looked surprised, then relieved, then something close to happy. Really? Yes. I appreciate you telling me. She came over and hugged me. I didn't pull away. Just sat there, her arms around my shoulders, her chin resting on top of my head. I was so worried you'd be furious, she said. I'm not furious. I love you. I know. She kissed the top of my head and went upstairs. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the bedroom door closing, the shower turning on. I opened my laptop again, found the email thread from the bank, every message, every attachment, every piece of documentation from the loan application process. I created a new email, addressed it to the bank's fraud department. The address was listed at the bottom of every official email they'd sent, standard disclosure language that most people never read. I attached the loan approval documents, the signature page, the verification logs. In the body of the email, I wrote one sentence. The signature on the attached loan application, purportedly mine, is not authentic. I did not authorize this loan or provide consent for this application. Please investigate. I read it over 3 times. Clear, factual, no emotion, no accusations, just the correction of a false record. I clicked send. The email went through immediately. Delivery confirmation appeared within seconds. I closed my laptop and went upstairs. The forged signature stared back at me from the screen. My name, but not my handwriting. Close enough to fool automated systems. Not close enough to fool me. I'd signed thousands of documents over the years. Tax returns, mortgage papers, investment accounts, legal contracts. I knew the muscle memory of my own signature, the specific pressure points, the speed of execution, the tiny inconsistencies that make handwriting unique. This wasn't mine. Someone had approximated it, copied the general shape, but the details were wrong. The angle was off. The spacing wasn't right. It was like looking at a photograph of someone who resembled you but wasn't you, close enough to confuse strangers, obvious enough to anyone who actually knew you. The timestamp on the document was 3 weeks ago, Tuesday afternoon, 2:15 p.m. I checked my calendar from that day. I'd been in a client meeting that ran from 1:30 to 3:30. My phone would have been on silent. Any notifications would have appeared on the lock screen but not made sound. Sarah would have known that. She kept track of my schedule. We shared calendars. She could see every meeting, every commitment, every block of time when I'd be unavailable. She'd chosen that window deliberately. The verification code would have come through. She'd have seen it on my phone. No need to unlock it. The message preview would show the 6-digit code. She'd have entered it into the loan application, completed the process, committed my name and credit to a $45,000 debt. All while I was across town, discussing portfolio diversification with a client who had no idea that my own financial life was being unilaterally altered. The loan terms were there in the attached PDF. 7.5% interest. 5-year repayment schedule. Monthly payment of $893. Total cost with interest. $53,580. For an investment I knew nothing about. In a business I hadn't vetted. With risk factors I hadn't assessed. I scrolled through the rest of the email chain. The bank had been efficient. Loan approved within 24 hours. Funds dispersed within 48. $45,000 transferred to an account I didn't recognize, presumably her friend's business account. Money already spent, already committed to construction costs or equipment or whatever else goes into opening a boutique fitness studio. I took a screenshot of every document, saved them to a folder on my desktop, created backups on cloud storage. Not because I thought the bank would delete anything, financial institutions are meticulous about records, but because I wanted my own archive, my own reference point. Then I drafted the email to the fraud department. I kept it simple, factual. No elaborate explanations, no emotional appeals, just the core information. This signature is not mine. I did not authorize this loan. Please investigate. Banks have procedures for this. Fraud protocols, investigation processes, legal obligations. Once you report identity theft or unauthorized use of your information, they have to act. It's not optional. It's a regulatory requirement. I wasn't asking them to fix this as a favor. I was triggering a mandatory process that exists specifically for situations where someone's identity is misused for financial gain, even if that someone is your spouse. The cursor hovered over the send button. I thought about what would happen next. The investigation, the account freezes, the verification calls, the legal complications. I thought about Sarah upstairs, showering, probably relieved that I'd taken the news so calmly. Probably thinking we'd moved past the hard part and could now focus on making her investment succeed. I thought about 7 years of marriage, shared meals and shared accounts and shared plans for the future, the assumption that we were partners making decisions together, and I thought about the fact that she'd forged my signature, not in a moment of desperation, not to prevent some catastrophe, but because asking me would have been inconvenient, because she'd wanted something and didn't want to risk me saying no. She'd chosen expediency over legality, assumption over consent, her judgment over our partnership. I clicked send. The email left my outbox, delivered, read receipt requested, and confirmed within minutes. I shut my laptop and went upstairs. I didn't tell Sarah what I'd done. There was no announcement, no confrontation, no dramatic revelation that I'd reported her to the bank. I just went upstairs, got ready for bed, and went to sleep. She was still in the shower when I brushed my teeth. By the time she came out, I was already under the covers, reading a book on my phone. Something about behavioral economics, the predictable irrationality of human decision-making. "Not mad at me?" she asked, climbing into bed beside me. "No," I said. "I really do think this is going to be a great investment." "I hope you're right." She snuggled against me. "Thank you for understanding." I didn't respond to that, just kept reading until she fell asleep. I lay awake for a while longer. Not because I was anxious or regretful about what I'd done, but because my brain was running through scenarios, mapping out the probable sequence of events, anticipating the steps the bank would take once they processed my fraud report. They'd verify my identity first, or probably call me directly, ask security questions to confirm I was actually me and not someone else claiming fraud to get out of a legitimate loan. Then they'd freeze the account pending investigation. Standard procedure, protect both parties, prevent further unauthorized transactions while they investigate the claim. They'd review the documentation, compare the forged signature to authentic signatures on file, check the IP address of the device used to complete the application, review the verification code logs. It would be obvious, quickly, that something was wrong, and then Sarah's access would be suspended, not as punishment, as protocol. When fraud is suspected, you lock down everything until you understand what happened. I didn't feel guilty about any of this. She'd committed fraud. I'd reported it. Those were just facts. Cause and effect. Action and consequence. The bank wasn't going to call her and say, "Your husband is upset with you." They were going to say, "We've detected potentially fraudulent activity and are suspending account access pending investigation." She'd figure out I was the one who reported it. Eventually. But by then, the process would already be in motion. The institution would be handling it. I wouldn't have to be the enforcer or the judge or the one deciding consequences. I'd just be the person who corrected a false record. I fell asleep around midnight, slept soundly. No nightmares, no anxiety dreams. Just deep, uninterrupted rest. The consequences would arrive on their own schedule. I didn't need to rush them. The next day was Wednesday. I worked from home. Sarah had meetings at her office, some kind of quarterly review process she'd been preparing for. She left around 8:30, coffee in one hand, bag in the other, kissing me goodbye on her way out. "Love you," she said. "You too," I said. The door closed. I heard her car start. Watched through the window as she backed out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. I made myself breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee. Sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started working through my task list for the day, client reports, data analysis, the normal rhythm of my work. My phone rang around 10:30. Unknown number. I answered. Is this James Peterson? Yes. This is Rachel Chen from First National Bank, Fraud Investigations Department. We received a report yesterday regarding a loan application. Do you have a few minutes to discuss? Yes. She asked me security questions. Mother's maiden name, last four of my social, the amount of my last deposit. I answered all of them correctly. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I've verified your identity. Can you confirm that you did not authorize or apply for a personal loan in the amount of $45,000 on October 15th? That's correct. I did not. And the signature on the application documents? Can you confirm that's not your signature? Correct. It's not mine. Do you know who might have submitted this application? My wife had access to the necessary information. I believe she's the one who submitted it. There was a pause. I see. And you're reporting this as fraud? Yes. Another pause, longer this time. Mr. Peterson, I need to inform you that reporting your spouse for fraud can have serious legal implications. Are you certain you want to proceed with this claim? Yes. We'll need to suspend all account access associated with the loan and related accounts while we investigate. This will affect any shared accounts you have. Are you prepared for that? Yes. All right. We'll begin the investigation immediately. You should receive a formal notification via email within the hour. Do you have any questions? No? Thank you for reporting this, Mr. Peterson. We take fraud very seriously. Someone will be in touch as the investigation progresses. She hung up. I went back to work. The email arrived 40 minutes later. Formal language. Investigation underway. Accounts frozen pending resolution. Estimated timeline of 7 to 10 business days for initial findings. I forwarded it to my personal attorney. Not because I thought I'd need legal representation, but because documentation is always smart when you're dealing with potential legal issues. My phone buzzed around 1 p.m. Sarah. Hey, my card just got declined at lunch. Can you check if there's something wrong with the account? I didn't respond immediately. Gave it 5 minutes. Then, bank flagged some suspicious activity. They're reviewing it. What kind of activity? Didn't say, just that they need to verify some things. That's so weird. I need to buy groceries after work. Can you transfer some money to my personal account? Bank froze transfers too. Should be resolved soon. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. This is really inconvenient. I didn't respond to that. Another message came through. Can you call them and ask what's going on? Already spoke to them. They said it's standard procedure. Should hear back in a few days. A few days? I have bills to pay. I'm sure they'll sort it out. The dots appeared and disappeared several more times. She was typing and deleting, trying to figure out what to say, how to respond to something that seemed random and frustrating but not yet threatening. She didn't connect it to the loan yet, didn't realize that the suspicious activity was her own forgery being flagged as fraud. She just thought it was a banking error, an inconvenience, something that would get cleared up with a phone call and an apology from some customer service representative. I went back to work. Around 3 p.m., my phone rang. Sarah. I let it go to voicemail. She called again 10 minutes later. Then again, I answered on the 4th call. Hey, I said. Did you do something? Her voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the edge underneath. What do you mean? The bank, my accounts. They're all locked. Not just frozen, locked. I can't access anything. My app won't even open. And when I called customer service, they said there's a fraud investigation and I need to speak with a specific department that's not answering. Huh? I said. That's strange. James, did you report the loan? I didn't answer right away. Let the silence stretch. James? Yes, I said. The silence on her end was longer. I could hear background noise. She was still at her office, probably in a conference room or stairwell, somewhere semi-private. You reported me for fraud. I reported an unauthorized use of my identity. Yes, I'm your wife. That doesn't make it authorized. You asshole. Her voice cracked. Not crying. Anger. You absolute asshole. You didn't even talk to me about it. You just, called the bank and said I stole from you? I didn't characterize it at all. I just corrected the record. Told them the signature wasn't mine. They made their own determination. This is insane. You're going to get me arrested over a misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding. You forged my signature. That's fraud. I didn't make it fraud. It already was fraud. We're married. We share everything. This is just you being petty because I made a decision you didn't like. This is me correcting a false document that was submitted to a financial institution in my name without my consent. Oh my God, she laughed. Actually laughed, sharp and bitter. You're really going to do this. You're really going to destroy our marriage over money. You destroyed the marriage when you committed identity fraud. I'm just responding to it. I want to come home. We need to talk about this in person. That's fine. I'll be here. She hung up. I looked at my laptop screen. Quarterly projections still unfinished. I went back to work. Sarah came home 2 hours later. I heard her car in the driveway, the aggressive way she parked, the slam of the car door. She came through the front door like a storm, dropped her bag on the floor, stood in the doorway of my office, arms crossed. Fix this, she said. I looked up from my screen. Fix what? Call the bank. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you authorized the loan and forgot. I didn't authorize it, and I didn't forget. Then lie. Tell them whatever you need to tell them to make this go away. No. James. She stepped into the office. I'm serious. This isn't a joke. This is my life, my accounts, my credit. They're treating me like a criminal. You committed fraud. Stop saying that. I didn't commit fraud. I signed for you because we're married, and I knew you'd agree if you'd just seen the opportunity. But I didn't agree. You didn't ask. You forged my signature. That's the definition of fraud. She started pacing, running her hands through her hair. Okay. I get it. I should have asked. I'm sorry. I really am. But you can't ruin my life over this. We can pay back the loan. We can work it out. Just call the bank and fix it. The bank is handling it according to their fraud protocols. That's not something I can just reverse with a phone call. Yes, it is. You're the one who reported it. You can unreport it. That's not how it works. Then make it work, she was shouting now. Do something. You can't just sit there and watch my entire life collapse because you're mad I didn't ask permission. I'm not mad, I said quietly. Then what are you? Done. That stopped her. She stared at me. Done? With being in a marriage where my identity can be used without my consent, where forgery is treated as a shortcut instead of a crime, where my boundaries matter less than your convenience. It was one mistake. It was a felony. Oh my God, you're actually serious. You're going to let them prosecute me. I'm not letting them do anything. They're doing their job, investigating fraud. That's what they're supposed to do. She sat down in the chair across from my desk, put her head in her hands. When she looked up, her eyes were red, not crying, just exhausted. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing. There has to be something, some way to fix this. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it. I want you to understand that actions have consequences, and that marriage doesn't grant immunity from those consequences. So this is punishment. No, this is correction. You falsified a document. I reported it. The institution is responding appropriately. That's not punishment. That's how systems work. Systems, she laughed again. That same bitter sound. You're choosing systems over me. You chose your investment opportunity over our partnership, over the law, over basic respect for my autonomy. I'm just declining to cover for you. She stood up. I need access to money. I have bills due. Rent on my office space. Car payment. I can't access any of my accounts. You should probably talk to a lawyer. A lawyer. She stared at me. You want me to get a lawyer? I think it would be smart, given the circumstances. This is unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable. You're really going to watch me drown because I made one bad decision. You made several bad decisions. Forging my signature was one. Not asking for help was another. Coming home and demanding I fix it instead of taking responsibility is a third. She grabbed her bag from where she'd dropped it. I can't even look at you right now. That's fair. I'm staying at Rebecca's tonight. Okay. She stopped in the doorway, turned back. Is there anything I can say that would change your mind? No. She left. I heard her car start, heard her drive away. I went back to my quarterly projections. The bank's investigation moved faster than I expected. By Friday, they'd completed their initial review. The signature analysis confirmed what I'd told them. It wasn't mine. The IP log showed the application had been submitted from our home address at a time when I had verified alibi evidence I was elsewhere. The verification code had been entered from my phone, which I reported had been accessed without my permission. They sent me a detailed report. Professional. Thorough. Concluded that unauthorized access had occurred and the loan application had been fraudulently submitted. They canceled the loan, demanded immediate repayment of the $45,000 that had already been disbursed, froze Sarah's accounts pending resolution of the debt, and they filed a report with law enforcement, standard procedure in confirmed fraud cases. I received a call from a detective on Monday, asked me to come in and give a statement. I did, answered every question calmly and factually. Yes, I'm married to Sarah Peterson. No, I did not authorize the loan. Yes, she had access to my phone and could have obtained the verification code. No, I don't wish to press charges, but I understand the bank has its own obligations. The detective was sympathetic but clear. Even if you don't press charges personally, the bank might pursue this. Fraud is a crime against the institution, not just against you. I understand, I said. And you're okay with that? I reported the truth. What happens after that isn't my decision. He nodded, took notes, said someone would be in touch. Sarah called me 17 times that week. I didn't answer. She sent long text messages, apologies, accusations, bargaining, threats. I read them but didn't respond. Her mother called me, said I was being cruel, that marriages go through rough patches, that Sarah had made a mistake but didn't deserve to have her life destroyed over it. I listened politely, then said, "She committed fraud. That's not a rough patch. That's a crime. She's your wife. That doesn't exempt her from consequences. You're supposed to love her, to protect her. I did love her, past tense, and protecting her would have meant enabling her. I'm not willing to do that." Her mother hung up on me. Sarah's friend, the one with the fitness studio, called me, said I was ruining both their lives, that the business was going to fail without that investment, that Sarah had believed in her when no one else would. "She believed in you with my money," I said. "Without my permission? That's not generosity, that's theft. You're heartless." I'm accurate. She hung up too. The loan repayment demand created a cascade of problems for Sarah. She couldn't pay it. The money was already spent on build-out for the fitness studio. Her friend couldn't return it. It was committed to contractors, equipment, deposits.